Hello dear students. Today we will discuss quantitative aspects of electrolysis. Till now we have seen that in an electrolytic cell it is the conversion of electrical energy to chemical energy. So we can say in electrolytic cell it is actually electrolysis that occurs. For example, we are taking an electrolytic tank and in that we are immersing two metal rods which will act as cathode and anode. Now the main difference between electrochemical cell and electrolytic cell is that in electrolytic cell anode is a positively charged electrode whereas cathode is a negatively charged electrode. Connect this through a circuit and when we pass electric current through this, the electrolyte which is filled in this electrolytic tank, it will undergo electrolysis. For example, in this electrolytic tank, I have taken liquid sodium chloride. So, when we pass electric current through this liquid sodium chloride, we will get Na plus and Cl minus, and that is what we call as electrolysis. Now, what are the reactions that are occurring at anode and at cathode? We know that at anode oxidation occurs. So, what is happening at anode? The reaction is Cl minus. It will lose electron and form Cl. Two atoms of Cl will form a molecule of chlorine and that will be evolved as gas. At cathode, reduction will occur. So at cathode, Na plus, it will accept the electron which is given by Cl minus and it will be converted to sodium, solid sodium. Actually, it is in the molten state. So NaCl on electrolysis, what it is producing? Chlorine gas and molten sodium. So we have got two different products on electrolysis of sodium chloride. Now this use of electrolytic cell finds wide application in metallurgy. In metallurgy, it is basically used for the reduction of oxides, reduction of ore so as to get the metal. And this reduction of ore, that is oxide ore, generally selected for the reduction purpose. Now how much metal will be deposited on cathode is what quantitative aspect of electrolytics. And therefore we are going to study quantitative aspects of electrolysis. It was the scientist Faraday who gave the laws after studying lots of experiments, and that laws are known as Faraday's laws of electrolysis. There are two laws of Faraday and they are known as Faraday's law of electrolysis. And what is the main purpose? To calculate the amount of metal that will be deposited at the cathode. Here is the Faraday's first law of electrolysis. Whether we are discussing Faraday's first law or second law, both are equally important topics. And based on it, you have statement type questions and numericals. So, what is the Faraday's first law? Faraday's first law gives us the relationship between the amount of substance that is deposited, or we can say liberated if it is in the form of gas, and the amount of electricity that is passed through the electrolytic solution. So what does it say? Whatever the amount of substance is deposited or liberated is directly proportional to the amount of electricity that is passed through electrolytic solution. So we can say W is directly proportional to Q, where W will be the mass of the substance that will be either deposited or liberated, and Q will be the quantity of charge, quantity of electrical charge that we are passing through electrolytic solution. We know that we cannot solve the numericals with proportionality sign. We have to convert it into equal to. So when we are converting it to equal to, we are introducing a constant of proportionality Z. And this Z is called as electrochemical equivalent. Or it is also called as Faraday's constant. We calculate Z by atomic mass of an element divided by N, where N will be the number of electrons. Either it is lost or gained. So finally we have got the formula W equals to Z into Q. But we know Q equals to I into T, and therefore we can substitute Q. So we get W equals to Z into IT. This will be the formula based on which you will have numerical. Now this formula will be used when Q is given in Faraday, and if Q is given in Coulomb, that is, a charge is given in Coulomb. When Q is given in Coulomb, that case we use the formula W equals to ZIT upon 96,500. Now how we will come to know that whether charge, that is Q, is given in Faraday or Coulomb? Current, if it is given in ampere, time if it is given in seconds, then we will be using this formula W equals to ZIT upon 96,500. Otherwise we will use the above formula W equals to ZIT. Okay, now I just want to define Z. How can we define Z? Obviously by taking the other parameters as unity. So if current is equal to 1 ampere, time is equal to 1 second, then what we will observe? We will observe that W equals to Z. So what is Z? It is the electrochemical equivalent when the current flowing is 1 ampere and time is 1 second. Whatever substance is deposited or liberated, that will be electrochemical equivalent. So that was all about Faraday's first law. Now what does Faraday's second law indicates? Suppose we have two or more than two electrolytic solutions which are connected in series. In that case also the electric current will pass. Electrolysis will take place. In all those electrolytic solutions, some or the other substances will be either deposited or liberated. Now how much amount of the substance is deposited or liberated depends on their equivalent mass. Let us try to explain this with the help of an example. Let us consider that we have two containers. In one container we have taken silver nitrate as electrolytic solution, and in another container we have taken copper sulfate, and this whole assembly is in series combination. So now when we are passing the electric current through these electrolytic solution, in one container silver will be deposited, in another container copper will be deposited. Now how much copper is deposited or how much silver is deposited, that is dependent on their equivalent mass. So I will say mass of copper deposited is equal to equivalent mass of copper. But since it is in series, so we will take the ratio. Mass of silver deposited is equal to equivalent mass of silver. That means whether we are passing the same amount of current, we are passing it for the same time period, but still the mass of the substance that is deposited of silver and that of copper, it will be different. We know the equivalent mass of silver is more, and therefore more of silver will be deposited. This is what Faraday's second law says. Now in Faraday's second law, the mass of substance deposited or liberated is depending on the equivalent mass, and in Faraday's first law we are correlating it with Z. So these two things becomes a little bit complicated, and therefore a new concept was given which include the concepts of both Faraday's first law and Faraday's second law. Let us consider the reduction of silver. Silver will accept one electron and will get deposited as solid silver. So this is the reduction of silver. I will say 1 mole of electron is required for 1 mole reduction of silver. But we are passing the electric current, so we are talking in terms of charge. So I must know the charge on 1 mole of electron. For that I must know the charge on 1 electron. We know the charge on 1 electron is 1.6 into 10 to power minus 19 coulomb. So obviously the charge on 1 mole of electron will be equal to 1.6 into 10 to power minus 19 into Avogadro number 6.022 into 10 to power 23. That is approximately equal to 96,500 coulomb. And this was what we call as a Faraday constant. And therefore previous formula we have seen as W equals to ZIT upon 96,500. So coming back to the example, I know that for reduction of 1 mole of silver, I require 1 Faraday because 96,500 coulomb is taken as 1 Faraday. Or I will say for depositing 108 gram of silver, we require 1 Faraday. Let us have one more example. The reduction of copper. Copper requires 2 electrons for its reduction. Therefore, I will say for reduction of 2 mole of copper, we require 2 Faraday. Similarly, for aluminium, we will say for reduction of 1 mole, here it will be 1 mole. 1 mole of aluminium, we require 3 Faraday. That means the number of electrons which are lost, which are gained, that we will be considering here. So overall we can say how much charge is required? Q equals to NF, where N will be the number of electrons. Although Faraday's laws holds very good in calculating the amount of the substance deposited or liberated at cathode, but still it has certain limitations. So Faraday's law are applicable only if the whole solution is electrolytic in nature. That means the complete solution will or should behave like an electrolyte. Secondly, no other side reaction should take place. When actual electrode reaction is taking place. These are the two main conditions for Faraday's law to hold good. Based on Faraday's law, we have numericals. So we'll solve the numerical now. In the given numerical, we have solution of nickel nitrate. Platinum electrodes are given. Current of 5 ampere is given for 20 minutes. And we are supposed to calculate the mass of nickel. So we are supposed to calculate W. Current is given 5 ampere. Time is given 20 minutes. We will convert into seconds. And now we'll try to find out how much electrons are required for the reduction of nickel. Now in this solution, we can easily predict that nickel is in 2+ oxidation state and therefore 2 electron will be required for its reduction. Now we'll calculate W. W equals to ZIT upon 96,500 as the current is in ampere and time is in seconds. But we don't know Z. Z is atomic mass of the substance upon the number of electron lost or gained. So how much is the atomic mass of nickel? 58.7 upon the number of electron 2. I will keep it as it is and substitute the value. So this becomes 58.7 upon 2 into current is 5 ampere into time is 20 minutes 60 seconds upon 96,500. When you solve this, you get the answer 1.8 gram. So the answer for this numerical will be 1.8 gram nickel will be deposited under given conditions. For solving the next numerical, the concept of Faraday is required. We want to know how much electricity is required in terms of Faraday. So let us begin. The first one, 20 gram of calcium from CaCl2. Now in CaCl2, calcium is in 2+ state. To deposit calcium in solid, obviously we require 2 electron. So I will say for 1 mole of calcium reduction, we require 2 Faraday. 1 mole of calcium means 40 gram. So 40 gram of calcium, its reduction is requiring 2 Faraday, and therefore for 20 gram of calcium, obviously how much Faraday will be required? Only 1 Faraday. Or I can say 96,500 coulomb. Now second one, 40 gram of aluminium from molten Al2O3. In aluminium oxide, aluminium is in +3 oxidation state. To convert it into solid aluminium, we require 3 electron. So 1 mole of aluminium requires 3 Faraday, or 27 gram of aluminium requires 3 Faraday. How much is given to us? 40. Therefore, for the deposition of 40 gram of aluminium, we will require 40 into 3F upon 27, and that is equal to 4.4 Faraday. So again I will say the numericals based on Faraday's law, they are the easy ones. Simply you have to remember one formula, W equals to ZIT upon 96,500, and you must be able to calculate Faraday, that is you must be able to calculate how much number of electrons is required for the reduction of that particular element. That's all for the day. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.